Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Lauren, and I will be guiding you through a gentle yoga practice where we will focus on our upper back. We'll do a combination of stretching it and strengthening it. So again, mostly upper back stuff today. So I always have 2 blocks and a towel or a thin blanket for under my head. Today we're also going to use, I'm using my bolster, but what we're coming to towards the end of the practice is a supported child pose. So something that you can rest your torso on. It could be a pillow from your bed, from the couch, whatever, but something preferably softer, not just your block. So either a bolster or, again, a really big blanket or pillow, something like that. So grab something for that for later. And we'll start on our backs. So again, I'm just going to bring something under the back of my head. We're going to come down onto our backs. You know that anytime we're here, you're welcome to have your legs extended along your mat or have your knees bent, feet flat. But I would choose one of those 2 positions and allow yourself to settle in. So as you're resting here, allow your body truly to rest. With each passing moment, letting the body feel a little heavier, coming a little closer to the mat, to the ground, and to the earth with each moment. Maybe you can even feel your muscles relaxing and softening. Feeling the weight of your body working with gravity to relax, to melt into the mat. Recognizing that when we're in these passive poses, gravity will do the work. You really can just relax and gravity will soften and allow the muscles to release. Come a little closer to the mat. To really feel your body releasing and relaxing. As you continue to relax your body, to soften, turn your attention to your breath. For a few moments, notice your breath. Noticing how smooth and fluid your breath is. Notice that your breath is uninterrupted. It's a fluid stream. Noticing how even the breath is. You can stay right here, breathing naturally in this fluid, smooth, and uninterrupted way, maintaining a natural breath, Anapana. Or we can move into a pranayama, a breathing technique called Viloma 1. Viloma means against the grain or against the natural order. So instead of a smooth, seamless, uninterrupted breath, we will interrupt the breath. We'll divide the inhalation into 3 equal parts. We'll be holding the breath after each part for just a moment or 2. Holding the breath is a perfectly safe practice unless you are pregnant or trying to get pregnant. If that's the case, skip this practice, this breath work. Skip the breath work. Stay with your natural breath. When you're pregnant, you never should be holding your breath. Okay, so again, safe otherwise, and we won't be holding the breath long. I'll walk you through it. So to begin Viloma 1, exhale completely. Push all of the breath out of your lungs. And then inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause, hold your breath. Inhale 2/3 of the way. Pause, hold your breath. Inhale 3/3 of the way. Fill your lungs to their capacity. Hold it here at the top. And then exhale completely. A long, smooth breath out. Inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. Back to Viloma 1. Inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause. Hold the breath. Inhale 2/3 of the way. Pause. Hold the breath. Inhale 3/3 of the way. Fill your lungs 100%. Hold your breath at the top. And then exhale completely. A seamless, fluid breath out. Inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. We'll do 3 more rounds of Viloma 1 just like that. Inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause. Hold the breath, but soften your muscles. Inhale 2/3 of the way. Pause. Hold the breath, but soften your joints. Inhale 3/3 of the way. Fill your lungs all the way up. Hold the breath, but soften muscles, soften joints, soften your energy. And then exhale, completely release. Inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. We'll do 2 more. Inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause, hold the breath, but soften muscles. Inhale 2/3 of the way. Pause, hold the breath. Can you soften your joints? Inhale 3/3 of the way. Fill your lungs all the way. Hold it at the top. Soften muscles, soften joints, soften your energy. Hold it for another moment. And exhale completely. Final round. Inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. Final round. Inhale 1/3 of the way. Pause, hold the breath, but soften. Inhale 2/3 of the way. Pause, hold the breath, but soften. Inhale 3/3 of the way. Fill your lungs all the way up. Keep breathing in. Hold it at the top. Can you soften anywhere? And then exhale completely. Inhale naturally. Exhale naturally. Now just return back to your natural breath. Breathing in a seamless, fluid way. Notice how you feel. Okay, now keep your attention inward and present. And if it feels right for you, you're welcome to silently set an intention for your practice, asking yourself what brought you to your mat. What is it that makes you choose yoga? Give yourself a few moments to silently and slowly repeat whatever word or phrase is coming to mind to allow it to settle in your heart. And then start to deepen your breath. Taking really full, big, deep breaths and then creating movement throughout your body. Maybe let your head rock side to side. Wiggle fingers and toes, move arms and legs, and take a few moments to move however you like. Maybe hug your knees to your chest, or maybe take a full body stretch. This part always makes me yawn. Oh, but one more breath wherever you'd like to be. Okay, and then we're going to meet with the knees bent and the feet flat on the ground. Okay, so feet and knees about hip distance apart, all 10 toes pointing forward. So I know you can't see your feet, but imagine that you could see your feet and they looked like the number 11. So feel it out. Are they truly two parallel lines? Arms will rest alongside the body with the palms down. We're going to start with a very small movement, and it really is more so for your lower back, but I'll get into why we're doing that in a moment. So we're going to start with a pelvic tilt. If you're familiar with cat and cow, we're doing just the pelvic part of cat and cow, pelvic and sort of lower back, but focusing on the lower sections of the spine. So I like arms alongside the body, palms down. And as you inhale, let your ribs and your belly lift up off the ground. Think about pointing your belly button toward your thighs. And then exhale, push your lower back into the floor. Think about tipping your pelvis like you're pointing your belly button toward your face. This is a pelvic action. Move deeply in the pelvis. So inhale as you tip your belly button towards your thighs, creating a little bit of an arch. Your back comes away from the ground, and then exhale, push your back into the ground. Now you're tipping your pelvis the opposite way, belly button towards the face. Move with your breath. Inhale, point the belly button towards the thighs. Exhale, point the belly button towards your face. Really think about sort of scooping your low belly in that action. Now move with your breath at a slow, steady pace. Again, the pelvic part of cat and cow. Now, with your spine, you have more mobility up here in your neck. As the spine travels down closer to the lower sections, you have less mobility. So think about how you can turn your neck all the way over so you could be looking over your shoulder, right? You can't do that down in your sacrum and your lower sections of your spine. You can't turn sort of that 90-degree rotation, right? So the rotation and the movement that we can do lessens as we lower. So our neck is sometimes already a little warmed up. You've already moved your neck. Even if this is the first thing you're doing today, you've moved your neck already today, but you probably haven't moved here. So even though the focus of the practice is going to be in the upper back, we still need to warm up here a little bit more than we do up by the shoulders and neck, because it has this natural mobility to it. More natural mobility to it, I should say. Okay, let's do just one more of each. Okay, and then we'll return sort of in neutral. So neither in the arch or in the pushing down, sort of in neutral. Now this is where if you've got something under your head, I'm gonna remove what I've got, even though it's very thin. If you've got something under your head and you wanna keep it there, just make sure it's very thin. It's not a block, it's not a bolster, it's nothing like that. It's maybe an inch thick, no more than that, or maybe you just don't have anything at all. Because now we're gonna be putting weight into the head, neck, and shoulders, and we just wanna make sure that they're firm on the ground and there's no, nothing putting a kink in the neck, right? If we put like a block under the head, the neck is way too up high. So neck right on the ground is usually best, or I'm sorry, head back on the ground. All right, so knees bent, feet flat, feet look like the number 11, arms alongside the body. We're gonna add on to that, we're gonna do some bridges. So with these bridges, we're gonna start like we just did in the pelvic tilt. So we're gonna start by lifting the ribs up, creating a little bit of a back bend. Now start to tuck your tailbone, point your belly button towards your face, keep it there. Now keep breathing, but hold this pelvic action. Now you're tipping your pelvis again, like you're pointing your belly button towards your face. You might even feel your abs turn on, that's good. But if you don't, that's okay too. All right, so it's almost like you're about to lift your seat up off the ground. You're tipping your pelvis, again, belly button towards the face. Now this is important, we keep this
throughout the bridge. On the lift, at the top, at the lower, at the bottom. The pelvic tilt stays consistent. It's a teeny tiny small action, but it'll help, okay? We keep that pelvic action. This is now our starting point. Now we push the feet into the ground. We inhale, lift the seat, lift the hips, the low back, the mid back. We lift up and squeeze the glutes. And then exhale, keep the tuck of the tailbone. Drop the mid back. Keep your belly button pointing towards your face as you lower down, all the way down, okay? Tuck the tailbone, belly button to the face, push the feet down, lift, 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 squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Keep the tuck of the tailbone, belly button points to the face as you slowly lower. Now, as you're getting the hang of this, think about keeping your head and your neck in neutral. You might be tempted to turn to look at the screen, to look at me, but think about keeping your neck in neutral, looking straight up overhead. We're both doing this together. You've got it. You don't need to watch me do bridges. You know how to do bridges. You're going to tuck your tailbone, push your feet down. Keep that tuck of the tailbone as you lift. And when you get to the top, you squeeze. And then you keep the tuck of the tailbone, but then you lower. We're going to do a few more like this. If you'd like to add the movement of your arms, tuck your tailbone, push your feet down. And as you lift your hips, reach your arms up. Fingertips to the sky. Once your hips come all the way up and you squeeze your glutes, fingertips are now reaching back towards the top of your mat or the wall that is currently behind you. And then start to exhale, slowly lower the hips, slowly lower the arms. Arms will come back alongside the body. Can they stay in sync? Let's do 3 more. Tuck the tailbone, push the feet down, lift the hips, inhale. Sweep the arms up overhead like your fingertips are tracing a rainbow. Exhale, very slowly lower. Keep the tuck of the tailbone. Slowly drop the arms as well. 2 more. Move at your own pace. Now check in with where in your back do you feel the work. We're not really in the upper back yet. We're not focused there just yet. You're going to feel this more in your lower back. We're going to do 1 more. Tuck the tailbone, push down with the feet, lift up with the hips, maybe float the arms up overhead, squeeze the glutes, and then slowly release, return, reset, come back to neutral, come to constructive resting pose. Walk your feet to the edges of the mat, knock the knees in toward one another. Give yourself some time to rest. Again, noticing that you're feeling the sensation in your lower back, not so much the upper back. We'll get there later. Take 1 more deep breath. Inhale. Exhale, hug the knees into the chest, and maybe you rock side to side. So you might have been feeling like you were working kind of hard there, and that's okay. Just because this is a gentle sequence doesn't mean that we're not going to be working. We are going to be working sometimes, but the movements are accessible, and the movements don't have to be large or deep or big or grand. So really keep that in mind. Okay. But also remembering you can always skip something if you're like, I don't want to do any work. Well, Lauren, why are you asking me to work? You don't have to work. You could skip it. You could always swap it out for a supported bridge or whatever you need. There's always a way to make sense, make the pose make sense for you. That's what I was trying to say. Okay. From wherever you're at, we're going to come up to a seat so you can push yourself to the side. You can rock your way up through to the center. We're going to come up to a seat. And we're going to stay seated for just a little bit. You know me, I like to grab my block and sit on it. All right. So from a seated position, any position that's comfortable, doesn't have to look the way that my body looks. Sit however works, let your legs relax, really sit up tall. We're going to focus here on starting to get some movement through the shoulders and upper back. So let's just start with shoulder rolls, making really large circles. So you could do 1 at a time. I always like to think of it sort of like you would swim, 1 arm at a time, or you could do them together. But we want to try to, instead of allowing everything else to move, can you keep everything else still and just really make this through the shoulders? Let's do about 2 or 3 more like this. And then reverse, and again, you can do them together or 1 at a time.
But again, can you keep your head and your neck still? Can you keep your torso still? Instead of allowing it to move, can you really focus on the shoulders? 2 or 3 more. And let the shoulders relax. We're just gonna do one more thing seated. We're gonna come into tabletop. Here we're gonna interlace our fingers behind us. So just interlacing the fingers and maybe sliding the fingers over one, interlacing them the way you don't typically interlace them. Bring them behind you. Reach your knuckles down and back like you're reaching just behind your seat, just for the space on your mat that's just behind you. So you're opening through the chest and shoulders. So think about really expanding here. It's not so much about knuckles into the floor. I want you thinking more about spreading here. The knuckles reaching down towards the floor should help you create that opening. That's the intention there. It's not about muscling through the arms and like you're trying to really reach for the ground. It's an expansion in the chest and the heart. Okay, so really opening through the front of the chest and shoulders. You're now squeezing your upper back in toward itself. So this is the action we're going to come back to quite a bit to work the upper back. We're going to stretch it too, but we're going to work the upper back, squeezing the shoulder blades in. You might even feel it here. Stay for a breath. And then slowly release, relaxing the arms. Okay, we're going to come right into tabletop. All right, so I always like to bring my blocks to the top 2 corners of the mat. We might not even ever need them there, but in this sequence. But all right, tabletop on all 4s. We're gonna move the spine a little bit more here. So I mentioned cat and cow earlier. Let's actually move through a more traditional cat and cow. So as you inhale, drop your belly button towards the thighs, just like before. Chest forward, look forward. Exhale, tuck your tailbone, belly button towards your face, just like before. Chin to the chest, look towards your belly button. We're getting the upper back into these actions here. So inhale as you drop the belly down, lift the chest, lift the heart, look forward. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, ribs to the sky, chin to the chest, look towards your belly button. And again, move with your breath, just like this, at a slow and steady pace. There's no rush, there's no hurry. So we've taken that pelvic tilt action and we've added onto it. So we're involving the whole length of the spine. Let's do one more of each, just like this. Now the next time you pass through to the center, pause there. Now here we're gonna make our way down onto our stomachs. I'm actually gonna move my block just so you can see me. All right, so here we're gonna start to work again, do a little bit more of those actions that you would have been felting in bridge and starting to add it onto that upper back again. So we're gonna bring the arms alongside the body, the palms facing in towards the thighs. Sorry, I'm scratching my leg. Okay, arms alongside the body, the palms face in towards the thighs. I like feet together, but feet can be hip distance. They just should not be any wider than hip distance. They're gonna be tempted to go wide. Try to keep them fairly narrow. Okay, we're actually gonna relax the legs this first round. We're gonna push the hips into the ground, lift the head, neck, chest, shoulders, arms, and hands up off the ground. So you can push the tops of your feet down, push your hips down, think about lifting your chest, broadening through the chest. So similar to when we were in Yoga Mudra, reaching the fingertips back, pulling the heart forward, squeezing your upper back. Lengthen through the back of the neck, so look down at your mat, no wrinkles in the back of the neck. We're gonna stay for one more breath. Notice where you feel the work. And then very slowly lower down. You can stack your hands or make 2 fists and maybe rest your cheek or your forehead. So we're taking different versions of a pose called Shalabhasana, locust pose. So the intention is to work your back, and with each variation that we're going to take, you're going to feel it a little differently through the different sections of the spine. And so again, we're working our way up to the upper back. That last one, you might have just felt it in your lower back, and that's okay. All right, take one more breath.
All right, now we're gonna bring the arms alongside the body and palms facing in towards the thighs. Again, push the tops of the feet down, push the hips down, lift the upper body, including the arms and hands. Now, you could stay here. I'm gonna give you two options here. Well, three, I guess. Option one is to stay here. Option two is to lift your legs up off the ground, lifting the tops of the thighs up off the ground. Remember, the feet need to stay a little narrower here, okay? You could stay here, or maybe like Yoga Mudra, you interlace your fingers. You reach your knuckles back like you're reaching your knuckles towards your feet. Squeeze your shoulder blades in toward each other as you lift the chest up. So now feeling it in the low back and the mid back and the upper back. Can you squeeze the shoulder blades back as you reach the knuckles back or fingertips, lifting maybe even the tops of the thighs? One more deep breath, Locust, Shalabhasana. And then slowly lower down. Again, stacking either hands or fists, resting either your cheek or your forehead. Give yourself a few breaths here. Take one more deep breath. Okay, we're gonna do just one more here. All right, now this one's gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna reach our arms forward in front of us. Here is when we're gonna really emphasize the upper and mid back more so than the lower half. Okay, so this time we're gonna relax the legs. I know in the last one I gave you the option to lift the legs. I'd rather you keep the legs down on the ground and just focus again on the upper part of the body and upper part of the spine. All right, so this one's a little different. We're gonna move at the pace of our breath instead of lifting and holding. We're gonna kind of release in and out of it, but of course I will walk you through it. So you're gonna look down at your mat. I know you're gonna be tempted to look at the screen or look at me, but look down at your mat. No wrinkles in the back of the neck. Lengthen the back of the neck. Okay, push the tops of the feet down, push the hips down, lift the arms up, and the head, neck, chest, and shoulders up. So upper body is up. You're gonna feel this in your low back. You feel it probably, right? Now we're gonna add upper back. We're gonna squeeze the elbows in and back like you're squeezing your elbows towards your ribs. Better yet, like you're squeezing your elbows in toward each other, like you're trying to get them to touch behind your back. Those are your rhomboids. That's your upper back. You got it working. Now lengthen the arms back out again and slowly lower down. Okay, we're gonna keep going just like that. So lifting up, draw the elbows in and back, squeeze the elbows, try to get them to touch, and then lengthen the arms, slowly lower down. Let's do a few more. Lift the upper body, you got it. Draw the elbows in towards each other. Lengthen the arms out and slowly lower down. We're gonna do two more like that. You can do it. After this, we're gonna move on. Squeezing the elbows in, really get into the upper back, rhomboids, posterior deltoids, lengthen the arms out, slowly lower down. Last one, push the tops of the feet down, push the thighs, push the hips, lift everything up, squeeze it in towards the back, really work that space, lengthen it out, slowly lower down and rest. Resting here flat on your stomach, don't take a child pose yet. So again, either resting your forehead or your cheek, take some time, notice how you feel. Take one more deep breath right where you're at. And if you would like to come into a child pose, you can. I'm gonna stay flat on my stomach. This feels better for me. But if you'd like to come to a child pose, we're gonna stay for 3 breaths. From wherever you're at, we're going to meet in tabletop. So you're going to bring your hands under your shoulders, push your hands and your knees down to lift yourself up. Okay, so throughout those movements, the intention was to really start to strengthen and work through the different sections of the back. We're gonna give that space a break though, because I don't know about your back, but my back was feeling like it was working really hard for the first time in kind of a while. Okay, so in tabletop, we're gonna walk the hands one whole handprint closer to the top of the mat. Hook the toes under, inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Give yourself a few moments here, or if you want to come into forward fold right away, but I always like to sort of hang out in child pose, downward facing dog. Pedaling out the heels, maybe shake the head yes or no, but in a breath or two we will be coming to forward fold. Know that you can always go early. Okay. From downward facing dog, deeply bend the knees, inhale, look forward, exhale, travel forward, forward fold, Uttanasana. Feet hip distance, looking like the number 11. Maybe a soft bend in the knees, maybe a deep bend in the knees, but let the upper body feel really heavy. So here in this forward fold, I want you to focus on the upper body, especially the upper back. So can you bend your knees maybe a little bit more than you normally would? Maybe you grab onto opposite elbows or maybe not, but just really let the head feel heavy. Maybe shake yes, shake no. Maybe you do grab onto opposite elbows and you do a figure four. I'm all over the place today. Figure 8. Figure 4 is a yoga pose. You guys know that. The figure 8 here. One more deep breath. Okay, if you're grabbing on opposite elbow, slowly release. Push the feet into the ground, inhale, lift up halfway. We're gonna hold it here for a few moments. So bring the hands onto maybe blocks or shins or thighs, somewhere where you can really create length in the spine. Again, maybe the knees are softly bent. Crown of the head forward, tailbone back, grow long. Inhale, exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Push the heels down, inhale, rise all the way up. Fingertips to the sky. Maybe add a bit of a back bend if it feels good to look up. Slowly bring your hands to your heart and take a deep breath. All right, let's move through some half sun salutations here. So inhale, reach the fingertips up towards the sky, maybe even look up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Round through the upper body. Let the upper body feel heavy, relaxed, and hanging. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise all the way up, fingertips to the sky. Maybe add a back bend at the top. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward. We're gonna do 2 more. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana, rounding. Inhale, rise up, push the heels into the ground to rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. 1 more, exhale, hinge at the hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Push the heels down, inhale, inhale, rise, fingertips to the sky. Maybe at the back bend, hands to the heart, take a deep breath in mountain pose. Now, since we are standing, let's come into tree pose, which really isn't going to do much for our upper back, but not everything needs to be for our upper back, right? I always think that in even gentle yoga classes that there should always be at least one balance pose or something that focuses on stability or balance. And so that's why we'll come to tree pose here. So feet hip distance apart, looking like the number 11, weight back in the heels, really push the heels into the floor. Shift your weight into the right, create a kickstand with the left. Big toe on the ground, heel above the ankle. Now here, make sure that your hips are level. The left hip is going to be tempted to sag down. So make sure it stays lifted. We want the right glute med working hard. So ground that right heel. You should be able to wiggle your right toes. You can place your arms wherever you want. Really think about softening your shoulders. Even if you typically reach the arms up overhead, we want to really soften up here today. So
Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Wherever you place the hands, just soften. And then maybe you slide the foot up. Maybe it comes below the knee, maybe it comes above the knee, but not on the knee. And then look at a fixed spot, something that won't move, where you can really keep your balance. It will help you keep your balance, your dristi. So keep pushing that right heel down. You can wiggle your right toes. Keep the hips level, chest lifted, but shoulders soft. Let's take 3 breaths here. Vrikshasana tree pose. And then close the hip, move the left leg so both kneecaps point forward, then release the leg down. Good. You can either sway your hips, roll out your right ankle, whatever you need to do before we switch sides, as long as it's not shaking a body part. Please don't shake your body. It's too disruptive for your nervous system. Okay, feet hip distance apart, weight in the heels, shift it to the left, kickstand the right. Find something to look at that won't move. And check in. Are your hips level? Is your left glute med working and engaged? Crunching in. Place the arms somewhere where you can keep the shoulders and even the hands soft, because even when your hands are at your heart, you're not pushing your hands in, right? They're just sort of resting. Everything is very soft in the upper body. Okay, so you're finding your dristi. You're keeping your eyes on a fixed spot, and then maybe you slide the right foot up. Now, either above or below the knee, not on the knee. And then you can still wiggle your left toes. Ground the heel. Level out the hips. Engage the left glute med. Lift the chest. Soften shoulders, arms, and even the hands. 3 deep breaths here. Vrikshasana tree pose. And close your hip. Move the right leg so both kneecaps point in the same direction. Release the leg down. And again, you can sway your hips, roll out the ankle, whatever you need. All right, we're going to come back to the top of the mat, facing forward. Take a deep breath here into Tadasana, mountain pose. Inhale, reach the fingertips up towards the sky. Exhale, hinge of the hips, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, step to downward facing dog. Taking just a moment or two in your downward facing dog again, maybe pedaling out the heels. One more breath. And then we're going to meet in tabletop. All right, so here we're going to do one last piece of work to strengthen our upper back. After that, we're going to stretch the upper back. So we're going to start in tabletop. And what we're going to do is a movement that just takes place in the upper back. Now, this is sometimes a little tricky for students to get. So if you're listening or watching and thinking, I don't get it, you're not the first student to not get it. Oftentimes, I sort of have to come up to a student and put my hands on them, but we're not able to do that these days. So what I want you to remember is that it's not an arm movement. Your arm is going to stay still. The thing that I often see students do is they bend at their elbows. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to move in your chest and your spine. So your elbows should not bend and extend, bend and extend. Okay. The other thing that I don't want you to do, and this is tricky because we did this earlier, is that pelvic action. Remember what we were doing in cat and cow? We were on our back right before the bridges. That tipping the belly forward and back, belly button towards the thighs, towards the face. I don't want that now. Belly button is going to point straight down at your mat the whole time. Okay. So we want to keep the pelvis and the lower back still. We want to keep the arms straight. Okay, you got it. We're going to work the rhomboids. So from here,
Looking down at the space between your thumbs, the neck is in neutral. You're gonna let your heart sag down towards the ground. I always think it's like I'm shrugging my shoulders. So the shoulders kind of come up by the ears, the shoulders are kind of up, and the space between your shoulder blades is now a valley. Your skin, your shirt, probably all wrinkled back there because it's all sort of sagging down. You've created this valley. You didn't let your belly sag down, just the chest. Okay. Now, you're going to push your hands into the floor, lift your chest away from the floor, creating a dome in your upper back. Now the space between your shoulder blades is a dome. It's a mountain or a hill instead of a valley. Okay, now let it sag down. Sag, 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 sag. Now squeeze your upper back. Similar to before, squeeze your shoulders in, your shoulder blades in, like you're trying to get your shoulder blades to touch. This is similar to when we were laying on our stomach, drawing the elbows back. Now you're gonna push the hands down, lift the chest, lift, 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 lift as high as you can in your upper back, but the belly button is still pointing down towards the ground, not towards your face. This isn't cat pose. Pelvis is in neutral, lower half of the spine is in neutral, but you're pushing your hands down. Now let the heart sag, create a valley, create all those wrinkles in your upper back. That's how we're gonna get it to work. Push the hands down, lift the chest, dome up in that space. Now your chest is working. So we're working between the front and the back of the upper part of the torso. Let's do 3 more. Let the heart sag. Squeeze your upper back. Squeeze, 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 squeeze like you're getting the shoulder blades to touch. And then push the hands down, lift, 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 dome, dome, dome. Create that hill or that mountain. And then release, coming all the way down. We got 2 more. Let the heart come down. Squeeze your upper back. Those are your rhomboids. They are working. Push the hands down, lift your chest, create a dome. But again, it's not cat pose. We're gonna do 1 more of each. Let it sag down, broaden through the collarbones. Let your heart expand, but squeeze your upper back in tight. And then push the hands down, create that dome, create that mountain, that hill. And then return to neutral. All right, from here, let's come to child's pose. So bring the big toes together, maybe the knees go a little bit more wide. Crawl the fingertips forward, or maybe like before, you can rest your forehead on stacked fists or stacked hands. So notice what you're feeling through your back. There were a lot of spaces that were working that don't get worked very often. And so it might have been a new feeling or an odd feeling. That's okay. Take another deep breath. Okay, we're gonna return to tabletop. So hands under shoulders. Now we're just gonna stretch, but we're gonna bring a little bit of movement into it. All right, so from tabletop, we're gonna reach the left arm directly over to the left with the palm facing down. Inhale. Exhale, thread it under your right armpit like you're reaching over to the right side of the room, keeping the left arm off the ground. We're going to move with the breath. Inhale as you reach over to the left. Exhale, thread it through, reach over to the right. We're going to do about 3 more like this. We're twisting now in the upper back. Inhale over to the left. Exhale over to the right. Now, these next 2, maybe you inhale, reach up towards the ceiling, stretching through your chest. And then exhale, taking the twist in your upper back. 1 more with your breath. Inhale as you reach up. Exhale, thread it through. Now this next one, we're gonna hold it. So inhale 1 more time, really expand, reach, and stretch. Exhale, thread it through, reaching that arm all the way through and letting the back of the left hand rest on the ground. Maybe even the shoulder, maybe even your left temple comes down onto the ground. Now the right hand can stay where it was. You might need to sort of bring it. Okay, there we go. So the right hand can stay here and you've got a few options. The hand can stay and you can push the hand down like you're really reaching your right shoulder back towards the wall that is currently behind you, like you're trying to stack your right shoulder on top of your left. And you might really focus on pushing that right hand down. Now you're getting a deeper twist in your upper back. Or to open through the front of your right shoulder and the right side of your chest, you might take a half bind. Right hand comes around. Maybe the back of the right hand just comes to the lower back, or maybe it can creep around to your left waist, maybe to the top of your left thigh. Okay, but you're turning your heart towards the sky in this twist for your upper back. Stay for 2 more deep breaths. If you've got the half bind, slowly return your right hand under your right shoulder, sort of in front of your face. Push your right hand down and inhale, slowly return back to tabletop. Okay, I'm gonna turn around for the second side, but you can stay right where you're at. All right, so in tabletop, we're gonna reach the right arm away from us, directly over to the right with the palm facing down. Inhale, exhale, thread it through, reach under the left armpit, reaching over to the left side of the room. Inhale, reach over to the right with the palm facing down. Exhale, thread it through, reach under the left armpit. We're gonna do 3 more. Maybe as you inhale, you reach right fingertips up towards the sky, and exhale, thread it through. 2 more. Inhale to lengthen, stretch, reach. Exhale, thread and twist, rotate the upper back. 1 more with the breath. Inhale to lengthen, expand, take up space. Exhale, thread. Last one. Inhale, really lengthen, grow tall. Exhale, thread it through and hold it there. So really reaching the right arm all the way over to the left. Back of the right hand comes down, right shoulder comes down, maybe even the right temple comes down. Left hand can stay here under the shoulder or where it was, pushing down into the ground to really pull the left shoulder back. Again, like you're trying to stack your left shoulder over your right shoulder. And maybe you focus there. You push down, you're really grounding, and you could stay. Or maybe you take the half bind, the back of the left hand comes to your lower back, maybe to your right side of your waist, maybe to the top of the right thigh. And that'll help open the front of that chest and shoulder. Feel this rotation in your upper back. 2 more deep breaths. And slowly return the left hand under the shoulder, sort of in front of the face. Push the left hand down, slowly return back to tabletop. All right. All right. Now here is where we're going to come into our supported child's pose. So again, you can use blocks if you can cover them with maybe a blanket or a towel, something a little softer. I've got my bolster, but again, you don't have to use a bolster necessarily. We just want something soft. And if you've got lots of props, you might use some sort of combination. You might prop your bolster up on your blocks. So the higher the prop is, whatever it is that you're about to rest your torso on, the higher it is, the more accessible it is. So if you're feeling like you're tight today or whatever it is, you can always give yourself a little bit more height. You also might want to put it sort of at like a ramp so that it comes up a little bit more for your upper body. You can do all sorts of different combinations. I like mine just right on the ground, but either way, big toes together, the knees out wide, maybe as wide as the mat, but they don't necessarily have to be. I like to sort of pull the bolster in and then really ground down to really lengthen. So inhale, reach the crown of the head up. Exhale as you start to fold forward. Think about letting your belly come down onto the bolster, then your ribs, then your chest, then your collarbones, and then allowing either your right or your left cheek, doesn't matter, I'll let you know when we are halfway. And I'll tell you when to switch with your neck. But letting your cheek rest down on the ground. And maybe just keeping the arms sort of alongside the bolster, like you're kind of hugging the bolster, if it's more comfortable to have them out wide or alongside your body, maybe even alongside the legs with the palms up. Whatever feels good, honestly, truly. We're coming towards the end of the practice where we want to be a little softer, Focus on stretching and relaxing and releasing. So as you're here, let your torso, let the front of your torso feel heavy. Let it soften. Letting the front side of the body feel heavy because it doesn't have to do the work to lift the torso. Your body will be tempted to resist gravity, to work, to engage, to keep yourself up. But can you let the props do that work? Can you soften deeply into your prop so that every muscle can relax? So that any tension in the front side of the body can be released. We'll take 3 more deep breaths here. And then slowly turn at your neck to let the other cheek rest down on the prop, on your equipment. And then reminding yourself of that same softening action that we want through the front of the body. Can you relax your cheek, letting all of the neck muscles soften? Our neck works so hard through the day to keep the head up, to twist and move the head and neck. And so can you let it relax? Can you soften all the muscles of the neck, the throat, all of these muscles that tend to get really tight? And allow that softening to travel down through the upper back. Through a lot of the practice, I was asking you to expand through the collarbones, but now can you expand through your upper back? Imagine the shoulder blades coming away from each other, separating and growing apart. Allow your upper back to soften. We'll take 3 more deep breaths here. Okay, now slowly slide your hands so your hands come under your shoulders alongside the bolster. Push your hands down into the ground to lift your chest up off your prop. And give yourself a few moments to move in any way that feels good. So for me, that usually means coming to tabletop and lengthening one leg back at a time. The ankles, the knees, the hips, we're in a deep movement for several minutes, really. And so allowing them to be long again. You might come into a down dog. This is your last opportunity for a down dog. After this, we're going to be coming onto our backs. Okay. All right, so whatever prop you were using, you can set it off to the side. Again, we're going to be coming down onto our backs. So I'm going to bring something under my head, but otherwise you don't need anything. Okay. All right, so come on down onto your back. Knees bent, feet flat, just letting your spine rest heavy on the ground. We're going to pause here for just a moment because we were in child's pose, letting the front of the torso rest on the ground or on something, on some sort of flat surface. And now that you're letting your backside rest on a flat surface, it's going to feel very different. Your spine is in a different position now. So just notice how this feels. Notice how your spine feels. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, hug your knees in towards your chest. You might stay still here in Apanasana. You might rock side to side. You might come to happy baby, maybe point and flex your feet, do ankle circles, whatever you need. About 3 more breaths before we settle into Shavasana. You can settle into Shavasana while I come up to a seat. So coming down onto your back in a comfortable position where no part of your body needs to work. This sequence, despite it being a gentle sequence, there was really a lot of work in it. There were a lot of times where we needed to engage, and maybe some muscles, maybe your rhomboids, started to feel really fatigued, started to feel very tired, and that's okay. Because now we get to rest. Now it's time to relax. Every muscle, every joint, everything can relax. Nothing needs to work. Every part of you can soften.
As you deepen your breath, create small movements throughout your body, allowing your head to rock from side to side, running your thumbs over the rest of your fingertips as you wiggle your toes. Roll wrists and ankles, move arms and legs. You can reach your arms overhead, stretching as if you just woke up from a long nap. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, hug your knees into your chest. Slowly roll over onto your side. Keeping your eyes closed and using the strength of both arms, push down into the ground and come up to a comfortable seat. Take a moment here to thank yourself for making it to your mat today. And maybe reflect on your intention. Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my life contribute in some way to the happiness and freedom for all. Now join your hands together in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra. To seal the practice, we'll chant the sound of Om one time. Om is the oldest and most sacred mantra. It's said to be the seed sound, the first sound that ever existed. Again, we'll chant the sound of Om together one time. Let's start with a deep and clearing breath. Inhale for Om. The light or the good in me acknowledges, respects, and bows to the light or the good in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope your upper back feels stronger, but also stretched out. It's kind of a funky feeling, right? Having both of those together. I'm with you. I'll be feeling it all day myself. So thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you soon, in real life. Bye. Thank you.